Hello and welcome to another episode of COVID Caddy. Bit of a long episode today. We're going to be covering off some interior additions and modifications. Let's get started. As you can see, the 289,000 kilometre shifter boot and gear shift knob are quite well worn. They've done their service. It's time for a replacement. So most VW shifters 05 onwards are pretty simple. They're all very similar. DSG ones are obviously different, but what you do is you curl your fingers up under the boot and there's a ring of plastic clips around the bottom which holds the shifter boot in place. Now on manual cars, hasn't really changed much since the early 2000s for VW. There's a single use clip, squeeze clip here. What you do is you just cut that off. Your new shifter should come with it. If it doesn't, you can use a hose clamp. From there it's pretty straightforward. That's what you should be left with. While you've got your shifter knob and assembly out, it's best to give it a bit of a clean inside the console, as the shifter is something that you touch and handle every time you drive a manual car. Not a bad idea to take the opportunity to clear out some of the dirt and dead skin. Today I'll be fitting a Chinese $20 shifter boot and knob. I couldn't justify the typically expensive price of a genuine one. I'd love to be able to get one, but for now this will have to do. For roadworthy purposes in Victoria, you need to have the appropriate shift pattern on your gear shift knob or on the dashboard somewhere in the vehicle. It's a roadworthy requirement. So later on down the track, if this doesn't fare so well after some use, I might replace it with something a little more interesting aftermarket wise, but for now, this will do. Bugger. Well, just desserts for buying Chinese, isn't it?
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, so what you've missed just now is me having to drive to the nearest auto parts store to then negotiate a click and collect transaction so that I can get some hose clamps to clamp the new boot and shift knob on. So despite them having them on their website and saying that they're in stock, they didn't have the squeeze type single use hose clamps. So for now I will be making do with a worm drive clamp, which is less than ideal because with that on the knob, underneath the knob, you're liable to hit that with your finger, so it's alright for a temporary measure, but we'll see how it goes. It might do my head in. Beautiful. So all in all, really happy with that for the money. 20 bucks and a couple of dollars worth of hose clamp. Beautiful. The boot feels actually surprisingly quite good quality. Yes, it's black. The original one was black too. It just is so filthy dirty. So well used, the pattern's worn off it. It's worn smooth in multiple spots. And then the leather has of course completely deteriorated. A3, S3 vents. There's a few different versions of them, so be careful what you end up with. A1 vents, things like that are all different. RS3 has a slightly different vent as well. Just thought it was time to upgrade the look of the dash a little bit, update it and get rid of these vents. I've got a set of 4 second-hand vents. To get the old vent out of the dashboard, there's 2 clips here, so you have to put 2 flat blades in like this, and then there's a little tab, steel tab up here, so you have to just get a flat blade in there and pull that down, and at the same time you've got to pull the vent down like that on an angle. Obviously the new vents are not a perfect
match up. So you will lose a little bit of air pressure. There are guys on some of the forums 3D printing adapters for these, or alternatively, if you don't care about your old dash vents, you can Dremel this. You can unpop all this front piece, remove all the guts, Dremel it, and you can set it up so that this will click into that, and you can use the original vent like an adapter. I'm going the super lazy route, and some guys will trim the dash and things like that. I'm literally just taking the old vents out and just sending it in, starting at the top and working my way down and around the ring until it sits flush in the recess of the dash like that. Moment of truth. See if it'll actually blow air through it. Does surprisingly well.
So this modification wasn't something I was looking to do at the moment. I'm actually in the middle of doing roadworthy repairs on the vehicle. This was a mod I've always wanted to do since I found out about it, but haven't been able to get the vents for a good price, and then just lucked upon somebody wrecking a vehicle that was selling for the right price. The outer vents work pretty much perfectly, exactly as the old vents do. The middle two vents are a little bit weaker, possibly because of that gap between them and the heater pipe that they usually connect to. Happy days. Another POV mod off the list.
Today I'm going to do something I wanted to do since I bought the Caddy, which is change out the original steering wheel, which is looking a little worse for wear. I'm going to be retrofitting the Mark 6 GTI steering wheel with multifunction buttons. In conjunction with the appropriate steering wheel and airbag, I'll also be fitting a later revision steering wheel column computer. It needs to be a CH or later. I'll also be fitting a later revision cruise control stalk.
Sorted out the steering angle sensor positions, zeroed out, basic settings, endpoint and everything's all done. Buttons light up with gauge illumination, and I have volume and track skip control. Another job done.
Now in reality this should be a fair way off, but typical fashion, I'm a little impatient and want to try something new on the van. Been driving it for a couple of weeks, want to change it up a little bit.
How about previously my daily wheel setup on my Mark 5 Golf? I set up BBS CHs. This is the result. It does highlight the fact that the van needs to be lowered like a good 80 mil. You can basically make or break a set of wheels by how you fit them in terms of offset and height. But didn't look as ghetto as what I thought it would. Postman's just been. I'm not normally home during the day when the postman arrives, but as you can see by my mask and the fact that I'm home during the week, Victoria is now in stage 4 lockdown again. So, air freighted from England. I have a feeling I know what these are going to be. Oh, very nice. These are my OEM-esque seat looms for my replacement seats that I have waiting in the wings, no pun intended. What could go wrong? Now these seats, as you would have seen in one of my first videos, have cleaned up really, really nicely. They're actually really, really comfortable. Put it this way, seats wouldn't be the first thing in this van I would change normally. They're actually quite comfortable, hard wearing. Like these seats have got 300,000 Ks on them. And okay, the driver's side bolster's starting to deform a little bit and there's a slight split in the vinyl on the side. But all in all, for 300,000 Ks, that's a lot of bums in seat time. And they've held up really, really well. They actually cleaned up beautifully when I steam cleaned them as well. They haven't gone crunchy or anything like that. They've remained nice and soft. I think VW really knocked it out of the park in terms of their commercial vehicle for longevity and a lot of Ks in seat time. I think they've thought about the ergonomics of it very, very well. So completely throwing that out the window, I've got a plan today. I have to run the seat looms for the heated seats. I have to change out the climate control panel to add a factory one with the heated seat adjustment on it. I also have to sandblast the spaces that the seats will sit on because as you saw in one of my previous videos, paint has come off due to coffee and has rusted and it looks pox. The seats in question, fully electric, heated, electric bolster adjustment. The driver's side has 3 memory settings, position available, full electric lumbar, Passat R36 seats. Not the most common set of seats in Australia. These were previously the seats that I had in my R32 Golf when it was a daily. Old seats are out, gave the floor a quick vacuum. It's holding up alright. It's had a couple of 1,000 Ks put on it since I gave it a last good wash, which you saw in a previous video. Okay, this is where we are at the moment. The front half of the floor is lifted. Center console's out. Both of the sill covers are out on either side. There's 2 configurations for seat looms on these. The one that I'll be using is going to come down from the fuse box and the body control module across here. It's going to have an earth point. It's going to have a plug that comes out here. It's going to run across the center console. It's going to run to the other side for the other seat plug, and then it's going to have an earth point for that seat up the front. The heated seat controls are going to then run up the center console alongside that loom, and then they're going to be pinned into the climate control. So this is the loom. Now it is a work of art in the sense that it is completely retro fitting, designed in mind. All genuine fittings and plugs on the ends, genuine style connectors. Yeah, cannot say enough good things about the loom. Obviously I haven't tried to fit it yet, but that's courtesy of Stan the VW Caddy Man on Instagram. Okay, that's the easy part done. Looms are run to each side, both earth points are done. The climate control wirings run up to the loom for the climate control, and the fuse box, body control module wiring and all that is ready to go. I just need to pin all that in. Like, just look at that grot. Oh, that's so gross. So gross. It's nothing a high pressure wash can't fix though, so at least they'll be going in cleaner than when they came out. Seat base has been modified to take the Passat seat and has been given a fresh coat of paint. Looks a million times better. So, first seat's in, seat base freshly painted, all in and adjusted, all working. I've got to call it quits today though, because I have other chores that I need to do today before I go back to work tomorrow. So everything's hooked up except for the climate control wiring. I've got to repin a couple of pins in there for the heated element, and I still have to do the other seat base, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Back onto the seat install now. Time to get the passenger seat in tonight. I've just painted the base, which I've modified. It's had the appropriate curing time of 10 minutes and a blowtorch, and it's pretty much ready to go in. Let's get on it. It's been a little while since I fitted the A3 vents. I just mashed them into the dashboard. Now the two inner vents didn't really do much, so to rectify that, a gentleman named Chris in the UK 3D prints these really nice adapters that hook the new A3 vent up to the Caddy air duct, thus improving airflow. It also makes this really nice little Duvalaki, which he sent me as well, which takes the rather large Caddy bottle-sized cup holders and converts them to suit your regular coffee cups. He also does inserts for these as well, if you're a tradie and you like your energy drinks. Well, that just about wraps up another episode. Thank you for sticking around. It was a long one today, but we've covered off on a whole lot of things, such as the wheel vents and seat install. Hope you enjoyed it. There will be more interior stuff a little bit later on, but that's going to be a little bit more involved. If you are enjoying watching the COVID Caddy series, please hit like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments or your thoughts down below. Always interested to hear what people have to say. Thank you.